All right, let's start this off, y'all.
Hey guys, Rich Richley here. I have to come clean. I have not been totally honest with you. You see, I wasn't rich before I started writing books. In fact, I did it as a gag, literally making fun of the other books that do the same thing. But the thing is, you're all so gullible when it comes to things you're insecure about that you'll literally believe anything I tell you. I used to be a gullible dingleberry like you, hanging on for dear life to the hairs of authors making more money than me, but now I know the secrets, and you can too. That's why if you buy my book, Come Clean, Get Rich, I'll show you all the secrets to sharing all the secrets that those guys don't want you to know about getting rich off selling books to sheep like you. Don't fall for falling for tricks that tricksters use to trick tricks like you. Start writing your own get-rich books so that you can get rich too. You see, it's all part of a master plan to convince you that I know something that you don't. Sure, you can Google my name, but by the time you hear about my book, the search engines will be so inundated with links about my book, it'll be too difficult to prove that I have no idea what I'm talking about. You see, in Come Clean, Get Rich, you can pretend to be an expert by saying you're not an expert, and you didn't listen to those other guys. These magic words immediately appeal to those who have tried and failed, leaving you to make your mark and cash in. Buy Come Clean, Get Rich today, and join the shepherds, not the sheep. Welcome to the Broke Otaku Podcast. My name is AJ. With me is Marcus, a.k.a. John Val Johnson Val Bratz.
Where, oh where are my Johnsonville brats?
It's Johnson Val.
You did it.
And Alan, a.k.a. Shirtless Shirley.
Hey, where did my shirt go? I don't know. Can you help me find it?
Damn, Shirley. You easy.
Jesus, Shirley is a mess. Somebody get this chick a ride home.
Shirley, put a shirt on.
I lost my shirt. Oops.
God damn it. Is it Tuesday again?
Can one of you boys
shirtless
hold my
Shirley.
breasts?
It's like, Jesus, Shirley, just because it's not Friday and you're not at a bar doesn't mean it's okay to overindulge. We told you about this.
What do you mean it's not Friday? Every day's Friday. Party.
Shirley, we're going to get you some help. Real professionals. This is an intervention.
I don't want it.
Oh, fuck, she's running again. Get her.
You can't take me. I'm free. I'm free as a bird. This is America. I commit no crime.
Oh, God.
All right, what just happened? I blacked out there for a minute.
She's detained.
Shirley is no more.
All right, Marcus, what's this game all about?
Yo, we got a game. You might have heard of it before. It is actually popularized by College Humor.
Ooh.
Can I say factually?
Have
no.
we never played this game on the podcast? Because I
We
feel
have
like that was
never.
easy win and an obvious miss.
Well, I think we were trying to be creative, but we've done a lot of things now, so I figured I'd pull it out now.
Yeah.
I wanted
Heck
to
yeah.
try to come up with other things first.
Being
Now I'm all
creative-
about
Biting off
stealing
on-
other people's good ideas.
Being creative is for losers. It's all
Yeah.
about stealing what's hot and making everybody think that it's yours. That's what we do here.
Recycling content and calling it your own content.
Also,
Credit to College Humor for stealing our idea from the future.
you don't get to be the second worst podcast on the internet by following good ideas or speaking fluently like I'm doing.
Yeah, either of those things contribute to good podcasts, which we don't claim to be.
Nah,
Never will.
we don't do that, man. You can find that anywhere. It takes true what the hell's the
Artistry.
word? I can't talk tonight.
Just stop.
Bravery. We're brave and we're smart and we're good people. Hey, let's play a game.
Let's play this game.
At any rate, this is actually Castlevania Edition.
Yes, I'm gonna be so good at this.
So for those of you who don't know, okay, I guess we have music first.
Sorry.
All right, are we all done? Cool.
Almost.
All right, so for those of you who don't know what this game is and haven't heard, what's going to happen is I am going to read a statement about Castlevania to our contestants. I'll pick one of you to guess first. The statement will have an incorrect bit of information. So the goal is to find that mistake and correct it. How I'm going to do this is going to be on a point system. You get 1 point if you know what the mistake is, and another point if you can actually tell me what the correction is. So even if you don't actually know the fact, if you can at least tell me what's wrong, you still get a point.
Yay.
If the first person I pick, like, shits the bed, they don't have an answer, the other person can try to get the answer correct for that statement. And in true nerd fashion, if you can give me more facts that are correct about the statement, then you get the points, because that's how nerds are.
True.
So yeah. Lastly,
actually, is this questions about the game series story or the anime?
You'll find out.
Woo-woo.
And lastly, but not leastly, you must say actually before your answer, or you get no points.
Or we'll murder you.
Right on.
Are we clear?
Clear as clear can be.
Clear as sugar.
All right. So what I'm going to do is share my screen with you, chumps.
This is great.
These
For the
questions
people listening at home, we will provide audio feedback on the visuals.
These questions be long, so that's how we're going to play it.
Alan has Castlevania Netflix playing in the background of his video screen.
So he gets to cheat.
Hey, that's not fair.
I'm not.
You better find a
watching
TV.
it. I'm just jogging my memory of my thoughts about
Yeah.
it.
Reabsorbing it through
He's not
osmosis.
watching it yet. Anyway,
by the way, I'm gonna do terrible at this, but we'll
Yeah, I don't feel
for
like
it.
I have a lot of general Castlevania knowledge, but we'll see.
AJ,
Mhm.
pick white or black.
Black.
All right,
Like
Alan
the
goes
night.
first.
Oh,
Alan,
Yay, I'm white.
here is your first statement. The Netflix original animated series Castlevania premiered on Netflix in 2017 with 4 episodes and follows the protagonist of Konami's very first Castlevania video game.
well, Alan gets to go
Oh,
first.
jeez.
Alan goes first, and if he can't get it, then you have a chance to steal.
Say the year again.
2017. Are you not looking at the screen that I've shared?
No, I'm not looking at the screen.
You didn't share a
That
screen.
You didn't share a screen. That's why.
All right. Well, I didn't get it to work. Great. Technical difficulties.
Technical
Differs.
Technical difficulties.
Diffitries.
All right. Am I sharing yet?
Yeah, it's getting there. There it is.
You're
Okay,
presenting.
right on. Ooh, PowerPoint.
All right. Here we go.
This is my reason.
I'm not gonna read it.
Alan's gonna read it. Great radio.
What is?
Actually, it came out in 2016. That's all I got.
Actually, you're incorrect. AJ, would you like to steal?
Actually, it was not the first video game protagonist. Actually, Simon Belmont was the first video game protagonist.
That is correct. Another
Ooh.
answer that I would have accepted is that the first 2 seasons of the show actually adapt the 1989 entry, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse.
Well, I didn't know that.
Snaps.
However, you still get 2 points because that's an alternate thing that you discovered. That wasn't my official answer, but it's okay.
Right on. I think that's true, though. Pretty sure that's true.
No, you're right. It is. What you said
Good.
was correct.
Excellent.
All right. So, AJ, this is yours. The first entry of the Castlevania franchise was released in September 1986 for the Family Computer Disk System in Japan, before being released 8 months later for the Famicom in North America.
Actually, it was called the Nintendo Entertainment System in North America, not the Famicom.
That is correct.
Booyah.
2 more points for you, sir. Back to Alan. In the second season of the show, many characters from other Castlevania games were introduced. 2 of those include Isaac, the protagonist of Castlevania Curse of Darkness, and Hector, the antagonist of the same game.
Actually, I think Isaac was an antagonist, and I don't think Hector was in the same game, but I'm just guessing because I don't really know anything.
I'll give Alicia 1 point because Isaac indeed was not the protagonist. He was the antagonist. Hector was the protagonist of the game.
Oh my god, I can't play that.
Curse
Yay.
of Darkness. What system was that on?
Probably.
I don't know. The
Game
success and ingenuity of arguably the most popular installment of the Castlevania franchise, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest,
Yeah, that's very
along
arguable.
with the success of the Metroid franchise, led to the coinage of a subgenre of action-adventure games called Metroidvania.
Actually, Castlevania 2 sucked.
Hey, don't I go first? Because I
No,
got
it was AJ's turn this time.
Dang it.
I didn't say it, sorry.
Let me read it one more time before I commit to the Castlevania 2 sucked being the actually. Was it called Simon's? Yeah, it was Simon's Quest.
Yeah.
Along the success of the Metroid franchise led to the coin of the subgenre in action adventure games called Metroidvania. Yeah, I mean all that's true, but so I'm gonna stick with my actually. Castlevania 2 is not the most popular installment of the franchise. Actually, I take that back. It's infamously popular, thanks to the angry video game nerd and his video from like 15 years ago. But other than that, I can't really see anything else wrong with it unless you're going for the action-adventure subgenre. I guess you could call it that.
What's your final answer, dude?
Yeah.
Damn.
Come on.
Let's go with I don't think it was Castlevania 2 that was the one that no, I don't think it was Castlevania 2 that solidified the subgenre of Metroidvania.
Boop, boop, boop.
Actually, it wasn't Castlevania 2. Actually, it was probably Castlevania 4 or Super Castlevania.
Okay, so you get 1 point because you correctly identified the mistake, but you don't have the right game. Alan, do you want to take a guess at what the game is?
I'm going to say Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
And that is correct, sir.
Who.
That's bunk. But
Come on,
accurate.
AJ, you know that's the
Shit,
one
that
that
is
everybody
accurate
like.
because the damn castle. You didn't have the castle like map thing.
Right, and you know that's the before I even knew what Castlevania was, like just remember hearing Symphony of the Night all the time.
Yeah.
Can I make
Like,
a confession?
Go for it.
You know.
I never beat Symphony of the Night, and in fact, I started playing it for the first time like a year ago, and it was really boring, and I didn't finish it.
I've started it like 4 times, and every time it's like I play for 20 minutes and then I die, and then I have to go way back, and I'm like, no,
Yes,
I'm not gonna do that.
That's exactly what happened to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I ain't got time for this.
Yeah,
Maybe if you played it back in the day,
I'm
when
sure
it came
back in the
out-
day I would have loved
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Simon's Quest was the jam though. I've put a lot of hours into that game, just because it was one of the
I did
games that
too.
we owned, and we didn't have.
Yeah, when you owned a game, you played it.
Yeah.
Regardless
It's not
of
like,
its
oh, I got 100 games
quality.
and 60 that I'll never play and 20 on backlog, like we have now. When I was a youngin', we only had 2 games.
Well, speaking of owning games, Alan, the cast of Castlevania series is in large part made up of British and American vocal talent. However, many other nations are represented as well, with cast members such as Nigerian actress Tux Olagundoye, who voiced Zamfir, and the well-known Russian actor Peter Stormare, who voiced Godbrand.
Oh, holy cow. Actually, Tox Olagundoye is from Trinidad. I don't know.
Is that your final answer?
Peter Stormare probably voiced, I don't know the dude's name. It wasn't Godbrand. Godbrand was in season 2. The new guy, the war guy in the new season. I don't remember his name. Val or Victor or something.
Final answer.
Final answer. All the points.
You're wrong. AJ, do you want to steal?
Boo.
Actually, Tox voiced Isaac.
You are wrong.
Damn it.
The correct answer is actually Peter Stormare is Swedish.
Oh, fuck that.
That's not.
How am I supposed to know that?
Yeah. A, how are we supposed to know that? B, that's not related to Castlevania. C, I hate you.
Yes, it is related to Castlevania.
It's not the
By proxy.
He voiced Godbrand.
Yeah, but
Bro, I'm not looking at all the actors and
descent,
you're like, okay,
his country of
I see.
origin is not is not germane.
I see Sweden's
to
represented. I see Nigeria's represented. Where's Canada?
It's not my fault that you guys didn't know the nationality of Peter Stormare. I did, so I win.
I couldn't even pick Peter Stormare out of a lineup of white people. I assume he's white.
You don't know? Well, look him up. He played the cosmonaut in Armageddon. It's like his most popular role.
The cosmonaut in Armageddon?
Yes. Do you remember
Bruce
the movie?
Willis movie?
Yes. He was the Russian, even though he's not Russian.
Oh, that guy. I like that guy.
Well, so he plays. Oh, that's why you put the Russian. Okay.
Yes.
What is this picture? I'm
anyway,
looking
I don't know him by name. Moving on.
This next one is a very crude map. Who is it? AJ, is it your turn?
Yes.
Okay. So for the listeners who can't see this, there is there's an oval that has Wallachia labeled inside of it. Within that, there is a region within the oval that's labeled Targoviste. Then there is a dot, and by that dot, Moldavia is labeled next to it. This is a crude map of where the general region where Castlevania, the show, takes place. But the labels are wrong. I need you to correct them.
Man.
Is it my turn?
It's my turn.
Dang it.
Actually, Targovista is the little dot.
Okay.
And Wallachia is the purple piece, and Moldavia is the big circle.
Nicely done.
Woo! Lucky guess.
Got it right.
Right on.
Targovista is the capital city of the region of Wallachia, which is part of the country of Moldavia of Castlevania.
Are those all fictional?
No, they're all real, actually.
No.
All
Wow.
within Pennsylvania.
Moldavia is now called Moldova.
Ah.
Well, they get
It
lazy.
used to be a part of Romania, I believe.
Man, I'm tired of calling this Moldavia. I'm gonna just call it Moldova.
You know how they be having to update stuff when time passes.
Hey,
Anyways,
I'm going over to Moldova.
If
Alan.
enough of us say something wrong for long enough, it'll become the right way to say it.
it's the right way. Alan, so this next one is for
Saint
you.
Germain. Sorry.
Yes, Saint Germain. However, on the screen, he sees it before him, but it's spelled wrong. I need him to correct it for me.
Oh boy, you
It is
suck.
spelled SAINT space GERMAINE. That is not the correct spelling, however.
Actually, there's no E, and I think everything else is right, but I'm
Is that your final answer?
I feel like there's probably at least two things and everything, but maybe not. Yeah, no E on the end. Final answer.
You get 2 points, sir. You are correct. And I'm going to give you an extra point because you said Saint Germain instead of Saint Germain.
Saint Germain.
Well, that's literally how they say it in the show. So unless you did not watch the show, you would have got that right.
It's true, but it's still confusing, so I'm giving them points. All right.
This game's bullshit.
This is the this is the last one. AJ, Alucard, a prominent character of the Castlevania series and primary protagonist of Symphony of the Night, is the Dhampir son of Dracula and Lisa Tepish, whom they originally named Adrian Celsius Tepish.
Oh, boy.
I spelled Dhampir wrong. That is not the mistake. I just did that wrong.
Okay, I would not have caught that.
Was there no H after the D?
There's no H after the P.
I mean, it depends who you ask, but anyway. Actually, it depends who you ask. Sorry.
Actually, his name wasn't Celsius.
Okay, is that your whole answer?
Yeah, I don't know what it was though.
Okay, well, you get 1 point.
Yay.
Alan, would you like to steal?
What
What is his actual name?
I even watched season 1 like this week, and I already forgot. I want to say actually it wasn't Celsius, it was Lucian.
That's your final answer?
That's my final answer.
I regret to inform you that you were mistaken.
Boo!
Aw.
His middle name is not Lucian. His middle name is Fahrenheit.
I was gonna say that because that would have been a stupid answer.
I was hoping one of you would have. I was hoping
And I
it
was
so
like,
bad.
Okay, it's probably after
Why
I
is his
committed
middle-
to not knowing what it was, I should have just said Fahrenheit.
Why is his middle name Fahrenheit? And
I don't. Probably because they're scientists.
okay, sure.
But they don't use that system.
And
there.
he was
They
like,
use
Lisa,
the Celsius system.
Did
Lisa, there is a new
Actually,
way to
I don't
measure
know.
temperature. It is Fahrenheit.
Lisa, I am Dracula. Let me measure your blood temperature in Fahrenheit because it's slightly more accurate.
Yeah, your Dracula's way better than mine. I don't know what the fuck I was doing.
You just got to get that booming bass right up on the microphone. Everybody in this show.
Lisa.
we gotta do the
So I gotta
from season 1 was like Wallachia, I'm going to talk to you about Wallachia.
Yeah. Season 1 was so bad. All right, let's just go. AJ, you won the game. Good job.
Yay! I
Let's
won.
get into it. If you haven't figured out yet, our topic of discussion is Castlevania. Season 4 just was released a few weeks ago on Netflix, and it is the last season of the Castlevania series.
Also fire, but
So they say.
They do say. However, there are plans for another Castlevania universe show.
actually they're gonna make another show in the same universe.
Actually, we're just gonna get into spoilers pretty quick. So if you haven't watched the season, you
Spoilers.
don't want it to be spoiled, then tune in later.
Don't get spoilt.
Yeah, go watch it and tune back in. If you haven't watched any of it, go watch some of it because it's good.
It's very violent.
It's super violent, yes.
It's very dark.
There's a lot of
and
cussing.
heavy. There's a lot of cussing.
And sometimes there's sex,
Sometimes,
But it's also
Most of the time, not.
snarky.
but very snarky.
I
It's
think
full of
season
snark.
3 had the most sex and nudity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Season 4
Absolutely.
didn't really have any.
No.
No.
They were too busy.
Which I'm okay
they were
with.
too
it.
busy chopping fools up.
There was a lot of chopping fools.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly. Well, let me get into my thoughts.
What'd you think of it, AJ? What's your high level overview thoughts?
There's some things that I liked about it. There's some things that I thought they could have done better. I think there were some parts of it that drug on a little too much. There was more than one time where there's two characters talking, and I kind of zoned out, and I came back and they were still talking, and it was like 5 to 10 minutes of what are you even talking about? And they weren't like significant characters. Like it wasn't really character building. It was like some character that was maybe in 1 or 2 episodes before then, and you really just did not care about them at all. But they talked a lot. And at the by the time the scene changed, I was bored. So in that regard, I got a little, it wasn't great for that. The action was fun, but kind of along the same lines with the talking. Like it was just, there was a lot of it. And if that's what you're in for, like, don't get me wrong, a lot of it, especially towards the end of the season, was like perfectly animated. It looks super good. And episode 9, like if you want like the penultimate episode of the entire series, the second to last episode, like the animation is like spot on. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense what's happening, because it's basically just a giant fight with all the main characters versus a couple of non-main characters or antagonists, I suppose, and a bunch of like an army of bad guys. But it looks super good. It looks cool. Like at any moment, there's several scenes where you could pause it and take a screenshot and set it as your background, and it would look amazing. And I actually thought about doing that. I have not done it yet, but it would look really cool. So in a lot of ways, it looks like they animated a painting in some scenes, especially when you get to, again, spoilers, the end of episode 9 where he's fighting Varney or Death, and Death's like super ominous looking, and Trevor's like got his whip out and he's got his little glaive or whatever that thing's called, and he's like ready to fight him, and it's looking badass. Like that was probably the coolest scene in the entire show. So in a lot of those ways, like season 4 is really good because it has a lot of those like really quintessential scenes for Castlevania where everything looks super good and it just feels right for the Castlevania series. But it's peppered with scenes that are pointless, characters that are kind of dull, and just drags on a little too much. If they had condensed this into like 7 or 8 episodes and cut out some of the fat, like some characters that you just had no impact on the story, I think it would have been perfect. But you know, with 10 episodes, there's a lot of action to be had, and it's fun to watch, and it's worth your time, I think. Alan, what do you think?
I liked it a lot overall. I agree with you that it felt like 10 was a little too much. They had to throw some filler in there. And yeah, like 8 would have been great. They had some characters that were like kind of pointless or kind of tacked on. It was like you kind of understood at the end like why they needed them, or they needed, you know, some other people to fight for some of the characters because they're all kind of spread out and then they all come together at the end. And then they try to develop those characters like right before they die, which like keeps happening, and I hate it every time, but motherfuckers keep doing it. But yeah, other than that, I was entertained, I was engaged, and it wasn't hard to you know, kind of just plow through all of them. Marcus.
This was pretty whack. I'm just kidding.
Shut up.
I fucking love No, I love Castlevania. I fucking love it. I think I like it more than it's good, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I don't think that story-wise it's the best thing ever, but it's one of my favorite things to watch. And I think it's because I love the visual style of it so much. When it is animated well, it's animated really well in a style that's super cool. And since it's not like actually anime, it's not a like Japanese production, it looks different. It's a different type of adult animation. So So it's just new and it's fun when I'm watching it. Because the style is just different. And one thing that I thought this season did the best, that all of the seasons did, but I felt like there was a progression of it, is that I actually like the banter a whole lot. Like, I remember when I watched the first season, the first 4 episodes, it was like, it felt like they were trying to be funny, and I got that they were trying to be funny, but it wasn't funny. The conversations that they were having this season, like, that were fat, they weren't really needed. I genuinely found them humorous, and it pulled me more into the show. Specifically, the first one I can think of that I really thought was funny was when Lenore and Hector were just like making a bunch of dick jokes about him building his hammer. Like, I could see people being annoyed by that. I thought it was funny because it was just kind of silly, and the voice acting is so good and convincing that I was like, I like this. It's cool. It's just like 2 adults just kind of being silly and crass at the same time, which is like, that's not a thing that happens in an adult cartoon that's not like Family Guy or some shit. You know, it was fun because it's like, oh man, this is like conversation that I would have with friends, just like making innuendos for no reason, but we're not, you know, it's not Family Guy, so it's not like over the top. It's just 2 adults trying to be quippy. So there was a lot more of that in the show that I liked. I didn't really get bored by conversations. I was fine with it being 10 episodes long. I don't have a huge argument for why that's okay. It just didn't bother me.
I think from my observations, it felt like it was trying to be more Game of Thrones like, because you had all these kind of branches of the same story. And then a lot of them kind of converge towards the end, but a lot of those storylines just kind of fall flat or they go unresolved completely. Like Marana and whoever the big lady vampire who put her day armor on and just slaughtered all those people.
Strega.
Like that was her name, Strega. They just kind of left after Camilla got killed. And you never heard from them again. So their storyline ended. Godbrand and Varney like had something going on. Like they chit-chatted a little bit. There's a lot of F-bombs in that conversation. Did anything become of Godbrand, or did he just get killed unceremoniously? I don't remember.
I mean that happens for sure. I feel like they weren't the worst of it, though, because I guess it felt kind of thin, but at the same time, I understood that was their story. Like, was essentially they just wanted to be with each other, and then the resolution was like, okay, well, Carmilla's dead, the one who's always scheming, making plans for us, so we can just do what we want. Okay, bye. And that was it. It was a little weak, but it felt like it had resolution.
Yeah, it wasn't really climactic or dramatic, but it was like, yeah, that makes sense. That's what they would do in that situation.
Yeah. So it's like I have criticisms, but my overall impression is I love Castlevania. I was super happy with it the whole time. It definitely has its problems. And some of them,
I guess my biggest hang up with the stories. Same time. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm gonna cut you off. My biggest hang up with the stories is that like you could sum up each storyline in like 2 sentences. Like there's not a whole lot of depth to any individual story. Like Alucard leaves a castle, finds a village, saves some people, forms a town. Like those are the things he did in this season. Fly Eyes, I don't know what happened to that guy. He just kind of disappeared. But Camilla was crazy,
that was
and drunk with power. Yeah, what the hell? He just like stopped being a part of the show. Saint Germain wanted to find his wife, and
yeah, we can't hear you if you froze. You might have to just reconnect again.
Your You're going in and out.
But yeah, so did you have any other thoughts?
What do you mean? Like you said, it has its flaws. What do you think the flaws are? What are its major flaws for you?
So, we talk about this too much, so I don't want to get into it really, but there's the whole inconsistency of animation.
Yeah.
See other episodes in our podcast. We talk about that shit all the time. So I don't really want to talk about that. But I mean, just what AJ's saying, like, it is really heavy subject matter that's easy to invest in just because the stakes are so high and the world is so harsh that if it's a type of world you can get pulled into, it's not hard to be interested in what's happening. But not all the stories pay off to their full potential because they do feel kind of thin, with like Alucard basically just being an angsty vampire after he kills Dracula at the end of the second season. And then like the whole third season, he's just kind of angsty and then like has a run-in with humans that he thinks is going to be good, but then it turns sour. And then, just founding the town. It's like, you kind of want more meat to him because like it's a crazy world with a lot of cool stuff happening.
Yeah.
But so there's that. And then, I mean, even with like Trevor and Sypha, like I love both of those characters and I still loved them like up until the end. But in the last season, they're fighting and then they're kind of doing half-assed procedural work. Like there are clues, but they don't really dig into it enough to make it feel like they did a lot of work. Most of the time they're just fighting. They're just fighting demons.
Yeah.
So it doesn't pay off and it doesn't get as deep as you want it to, even though it's not so bad that I hated it, you know?
Yeah, it was kind of weak when they were like, they got a lot of action in. It was kind of like just an excuse for them to be fighting lots of things. And then they have this conversation where they're like, we're just reacting. We're not acting. We're not. And it was just like, what do you mean? Like, we don't really get any details as to what that means to them. Like, what are they reacting to? Like, okay, they're following vampires or, following towns in need, chasing down clues, I guess. But now, so we're not reacting anymore. Now we're acting, but like what they don't really talk about what the difference is. And then they end up where they're supposed to be for the climax.
Right. For it to be so difficult, it all kind of falls into place relatively easy.
Yeah.
So
that is true. They really did not really change their tactics after they said, let's be proactive.
Yeah. And
okay, you're just going to go somewhere that you probably were going to go anyway.
Yeah. Well, then they warp to where they need to be at the end anyway, which is like how the whole thing with Varney was kind of tacked on. So like Varney is this.
Varney was. I'm here. Let me put this out for Varney. I'm glad he landed where he did in the series, because if he was just there being himself, he would have been the worst character in the whole season. Like he's still not a great character. Like don't get me wrong, he's funny. And he's kind of there for like comic relief, I suppose. But like, if he had not turned into death at the end, he would have been wholly unnecessary.
Yeah, when they introduced him, I was just like, "Who is this motherfucker?" Like, I do not need some like Cockney vampire scumbag. Varney of London. And then like, well then, okay, so his Russian, friend, like does this like 10-minute monologue about how like. I'm the best vampire of war there ever was, and I love killing, and this is what I do, and I'm going to go do it, and you're an asshole, and I don't like you, and I'm better than you. Like, completely overdid it, and then he goes and fights Trevor and Sypha and gets killed. It's just like, stop doing that, man. Like, A, I don't care about him that much to begin with. B, I'm mad that you're trying to make me care right before he's just gonna get killed. Like, stop doing that.
They do that a lot.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. But back to what you said, Marcus, like, I'm just going to add a real quick comment about, like, the inconsistencies. There is less jank than previous seasons, but I actually went back and I watched season 1 again, and I'm, like, into season 2 again now. and it's not as jank as I remember. I think it was just kind of adjusting to the art style. And I thought watching season 4, I'm like, man, this looks so much better than it did season 1. It looks about the same. Like if you go from season 4 back to season 1, like it's pretty consistent.
Okay.
And I think actually the part that I remembered being real janky, it didn't strike me as bad this time. I'm not sure why. Maybe I didn't get to that scene yet, but there's a part in season 1 where they just keep falling through the floor and they keep falling and falling. It's kind of silly because they just keep falling through floors and then they find Alucard. But some of the falling parts were I remembered being like really awkward. But maybe it might be season 2 that I'm thinking about, where like he's like whipping around a beam or something and it just looks really strange.
They needed to buy more frames.
Yeah,
basically.
they really, it was like, no, you needed to do another pass at this.
I think there were like early in season 4, like the first maybe 5 or 6 episodes, there were some significant frames missing, but I think stylistically it worked.
Yeah, I think that's just how they did the show, because it's not
kind of, but then at the end, like they go whole hog at those last fight scenes.
Yeah,
like they don't skip a whole lot of frames. It looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, they started doing that at the end of season 2, because I remember the end of season 2 with the fight with Dracula and even the fight like in the court, like that was animated well. And then the end of season 3, the last 2 episodes of that was ridiculous when they were fighting the demon of the infinite corridor or whatever he was. Like that was insanity. And then they followed it up with this and just pulled out all the stops. So that was cool. And I mean, one thing that I also appreciate about the fight scenes is not just that they look good, but the choreography is interesting.
Yeah,
they do cool things in the fight. And it's fun to see Sypha and Trevor, and at the very end Alucard, how they fight cooperatively.
Yeah,
it's not just like you're fighting over here and I'm fighting over there. They like save each other's asses all of the time. It's kind of their modus operandi, which is like, if we see that we're both having trouble, then we're gonna refocus, and it's like, I'll kill your guy, you'll kill my guy. And they do that several times, and it's really cool.
Yeah, the way they did those, they choreographed those, look super awesome. Like this is the kind of fight scenes that you want to see from any animated show, like, because you want to see stuff that they couldn't pull off with, real people or CG. Like this is the kind of stuff that only works well when it's animated this way. And they did really well, and it looks really good.
Yeah, it makes me want to go back, and I'm probably going to do what you did, Alan, and go back and rewatch all of it, because like there was just good fighting throughout the whole show.
I forgot how short season 1 was.
It was a test. Basically, they were like, "Is just 4 episodes? Does anybody care about this?"
Yeah,
and then they were like, "Oh, a lot of people cared about this."
Shit was banging.
Yeah, which says a lot, man. Like if you put out 4 episodes of an adult cartoon on Netflix, that's not like by
it's
a
got the
major
name
anime
recognition
studio
of Castlevania, so it was kind of like they knew what they had, but they wanted to just play it safe,
right? But the thing is, when you have a name like that, you're taking a gamble, man.
Yeah, you got to bring it.
You're setting yourself up to disappoint people, and
true.
They didn't.
Yeah, no, they
which
did.
Was awesome.
They did well. I do feel like the fights, it was kind of like sometimes like they're struggling, and then they win. It wasn't like you get in like action movies or like anime, they talk you through it, and like you're always in the head of the protagonist, like he's gonna do this and I can't do this because he'll do that, and you're with them as they think through it and find a solution and find a way to beat them. This show didn't have that. It's just action, but it wasn't like we decide to work together in a certain way. There was that moment when the 3 of them were fighting in the castle, and they all kind of helped each other out, but it just kind of happened. It wasn't like they called out to each other, or it wasn't like, it didn't feel planned. It was just, between the characters, it was just kind of happened, and then that's how the fight ended. So that bugged me a little bit. It's just like action, action, and then they win. Like
it was like at the end of every fight, they're like, "Oh, I need to lay down in bed for a month," or "I'm never going to recover from this," or some kind of quip of like how exhausted they are. But then they immediately go,
and then they keep like, going. Yeah, they just have unlimited stamina. Sypha is like launching spells continuously.
She has so much mana.
Every spell is bigger than the last and more badass. And she's like fire, ice, flaming ice, flaming electricity. It's just like, don't you ever get tired?
Nope.
Like there is no cost for you to perform these spells. Like,
she put in the cheat code.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Jerome, our friend Jerome was talking about that too. He was saying that there was that lack of consistency because when they're fighting everybody in the underground court in Targa Vista, like fucking Trevor gets sliced up by the Russian Vlad. I think Vlad is
you want to say Vlad because he's Russian, but
Vlad is that's Dracula. Right. No, but he gets like almost killed, and then it's like, all right, let's jump through this portal and like get in like a bunch of ultimate super fights before I have the most ultimate super fight. It's like, all right, yeah, you do need to like take breaks, I guess, to make it feel earned, to make the fights feel like it has stakes. Because after a while, I was telling him that, like, yeah, when it gets to that point, I think that the fight scenes are done so well, I just turn off my logic brain. Just like, I'm like, all right, it's pretty, so I'm just gonna watch it be pretty.
No, it's definitely worth it
because I like animation.
You know, we're just being critical here.
It would make the evolution of the story better without like. Absolutely. Like, without a doubt, it would. But I think that they did the animation and the choreography and stuff so well that you're willing to forgive it. Now, if they didn't do any of that stuff well, I think we'd be more angry about the fights not feeling like they were earned. Because it's like, is it hard or is it not to beat people? Because another thing that he brought up was the fact that Alucard got in this crazy fight with Dracula at the end of season 2. And then here we are at the beginning of season 4, and he's like having trouble keeping villagers safe.
Yeah, well, like I thought he could control his sword. Like he killed the twins with one swoop of his sword. He didn't touch it at all. Like it was basically he could control it telepathically, but then he doesn't do that. Like he throws it at a lot of people, but then it's like
that sword pissed me off because there was a scene where he threw it. And then she was like, "You got to go get your sword." He's like, "Yep, I'm gonna go get it." It's like, don't you have like Thor's hammer power?
Yeah,
I thought he was gonna just look at her like, "Watch this," and just put his hand out.
That would have been.
And then his sword like rips through the thing's belly, and he just catches it, and then he like winks at her or something like, "Check that out, toots," and then kills some other people. It's like he forgot he had certain abilities.
Yeah, he did. He must have like dementia or something. Cause like he threw it into that thing's mouth, the thing with the mouth beam. There's one is the first one. He throws the sword into its mouth, it explodes, you know, he wins, happy. Then there's another one, and like, why doesn't he just do the same thing? Like I know you can't do the same thing twice. It's kind of cheap, but like maybe do the cool thing with the sword the second time for the second one.
He wants that S style grade on his style points.
Yeah, but it was just like if it worked the first time, just do it again. I don't know.
But he had like 20 abilities he used in the very last fight scene that he did not use the entire series, like turning into bats and turning into a wolf.
I was waiting for him to turn into a wolf like all 8 episodes before he finally did it in the 9th episode. I'm like, you could turn into a wolf. There's so many times where it would be so useful if you just turn into a wolf.
Yeah. Why aren't you turning into a wolf right now?
Yeah, that didn't make a whole lot of sense.
It didn't make sense.
I made it in my head, and I'm sure this is not true, that when he was in his castle, he had more power and could do things that he couldn't do outside the castle.
That's not.
There's no logic or canon to that.
That's not too much of a reach. I can buy that.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a shonen anime, they definitely would have just said it. He would be like, "Now that I'm in my castle, you're fucked."
Yeah.
And they would have said fucked, because that's another criticism that I have of this show. I'm all for cursing, but these people, the writing in this show is like the writers just found out what cuss words were like 2 days ago. They're like, oh man, you heard this new word? It's called fuck. Like,
we're going to use it as much as possible.
Yeah, Faith's like in the kitchen cooking, and I'm watching it, and she's just like, God, can Carmela say fuck anymore? She's just like, I'm so fucking angry.
I was watching with my wife on the couch, and I was watching the scene where Varney was talking to whoever that was. And it was like every other word was the F word.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on.
Yeah, they could chill on that.
Right.
Like,
it didn't bother me. I mean, yeah, it's a lot, but I feel like that's just what they did.
Well, the problem for me is that it doesn't, if you do it too much, it doesn't mean anything. Like, so Faith and I are watching, y'all ever heard of this show called Schitt's Creek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so she got me into that show. And it's not an HBO show, but it's like, I don't know what it was on, but it was on a channel where you could cuss. It was like one of those premium channels.
I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah, I think it is on
It's on Netflix. That's what we're watching it on. But when it originally aired, I don't know if I don't think it was a Netflix original. At any rate, so like in the first episode, they say fuck, and I'm kind of like level setting myself like, okay, cool. This is one of those types of shows, but they barely ever say it. So when they do say it, it hits. And it's funny, and it makes me die laughing every time, because they always use it in a scenario where it's really awkward anyway. So your stomach is already in knots, like, oh, because it's like a typical comedy situation. And then somebody will be like, and what the fuck is that over there? And you're like, he said it. Because they go episodes without saying it, even though they could say it as much as they want. So when you're just going like, it's my fucking plan to take all of the fucking things from the fucking old evil fucking old men. I'm like, okay, just stop, because now it just sounds stupid. Like, I don't like it anymore. Like, I want to like it.
I just feel like they've lived for so long. They're just so angry and so tired. They just gotta say fuck before everything.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it didn't bother me once I kind of like knew to expect it.
There was one, oh man, I gotta remember the line, but Sypha said it.
Oh yeah,
when Sypha says it, it matters, because she doesn't ever say it. So it was hilarious.
But she said something. She was like, "Fuck the what?" Like, she said it. Completely quietly and out of nowhere.
She said hilarious. The fuck.
And I don't remember the context.
The context was Zamfir was talking about how the king and queen were gonna come out of the royal sleep. They're dead. But Zamfir is a little crazy. And they got the two zombies behind the curtain. The king and the queen, and she's like, they will come back and they will save us in the royal sleep. And then Sypha's just like, the fuck, what now?
Yeah. That was great.
And they did.
Sypha is like she's like the sweetest character, but she's so like badass at the same time. And like you can tell, like, just as the series progresses, she just gets more and more like Belmont, basically.
Gruff, yeah.
Well, I mean, her vampire murder death count is fucking 8 billion by the end of the show.
Yeah,
right.
Like, they see blood and gore all of the time, which I thought was cool how they set it up. Like, the first episode, it's like 6 weeks ago, and they're fighting in the place, killing monsters, and they're like 5 weeks ago, killing monsters, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you get the feeling, you get this time lapse, like, man, yeah, they've just been doing nothing.
Right.
Nothing but fucking fighting night creatures and vampires this whole time. So it was a cool way to quickly show a character's progression through circumstances. Like Trevor, he started in the gutter, so like he wasn't affected by that. But yeah, to see Sypha go through that was kind of a big deal.
Right. Let's talk about Camilla and Isaac real quick.
Oh, best. That's my MVP scene of the.
That was a really dope fight.
Because Isaac, I was kind of like, and Hector too, I was like, because they were a big part of the last season, especially with Lenore and Hector. But like I didn't think that I wanted as much screen time with them in season 4, but since we got it that way, like I actually wanted more Isaac. They cut his story off too soon.
Yeah, I really wanted...
He wasn't even in the last episode. That was kind of sad.
I know.
Right.
I really wanted more like resolution for him.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of got what he wanted, I suppose.
So
but
he just decided that he wanted to live and wanted to save humanity, or he wanted to build something.
Yeah, pretty much, because what he said was he had time to think. He never had time to think before.
Yeah.
So after Dracula gets killed, he doesn't really have anything to do. He's mad at Hector and Carmilla and all the rest of them because they're responsible for Dracula's death because they all betrayed him. So that's his mind. He's like, you know what? I was always a general of Dracula's army. I'm going to make my own army, and then I'm going to fuck shit up. So he defeated that one evil mage of the tower of that one city. And once he took over the city, he was just kind of like, all right, well, I make things. I'm a forge master. Like, I'm not just a guy that destroys stuff, which was why he had that whole conversation with Fly Eyes, which was a night creature that could talk. And I think that him just having that time where he was in control, he wasn't being abused like he had been the first part of his life. He wasn't completely devoted to somebody else's cause like he was in the second part of his life. He just was like, I want to make things instead rather than just destroy stuff. I think that he is more than willing and even eager to destroy things for the sake of building things, but his goal just changed. So by the end of it, he didn't want to kill Hector anymore. He was like, me and you are the same. We're the same. Like, we are both shunned by humanity and we became jaded. So we joined Dracula because he was going to kill all these fools. But now we're free and we don't have a master. So how about we just decide what we want to do for ourselves? So yeah, I'm not going to kill you because I want you to have what I have because we're the same. So, I mean, and now that I say that, like, their stories are the most interesting.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, Isaac and Hector, like, it's more interesting than Trevor, because Trevor's just like, I'm gonna kill bad guys.
Well, Trevor's story, like, kind of wraps at the end of season 1. He's like living in obscurity as a drunk.
Yeah.
And then Cypher finds him and he's like, all right, I'll fucking fight stuff. And then that's who he is for the rest of the show. It's like, we got to kill all the vampires that are bad. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, I think the whole, like, Carmilla's motive for taking over everything is pretty stupid, but, you know, you can attribute that just to being a vampire and being alive for thousands of years and just being bored. So her motivation didn't bother me so enough. I think Lenore, first of all, Lenore just existing makes the show infinitely better.
She's so hot.
This is a Lenore Stan podcast now, so
hell yeah, dude.
But she actually helps Carmilla make a little more sense of what she's doing just through her explanations. But yeah, Carmilla's kind of a weak villain from a like a plot perspective. But I was glad that Isaac was the one to take her out and it wasn't like Trevor or something like that, because that would have been lame.
It was so perfect because he was still pissed at her because of her scheming against Dracula, but by the time he got to her, it wasn't like revenge. It was just like, yeah, you gotta go. And it was just a cool fight because they're not necessarily arch nemesis. Nemesis. Yeah, nemesis. But it was cool because it's like Isaac is this human that's not our main character that can also take vampires out. I don't know. Something about that just makes me geeked. So the fact that he was fighting Carmilla, who you knew was a like fucking bad bitch, like it was, and the setting of the fight was dope. Yeah, because he sends all the night creatures to her great hall.
When he's walking
first.
up the stairs and the blood is going down the stairs, it's just like, oh, it's about to go down.
Oh, yeah.
You
Just
knew
the
it.
blood-soaked floor in this big old hall. She pulls out her dope-ass red-bladed sword.
Yeah.
And he has his night creatures, and the like super dope demon-looking one with the 4 eyes is like his main dude that is like helping him out. Like I told Jerome, I was like, that fight is probably the best fight in the show, even though it's not the best animated fight, because he's dope enough to fight vampires, but Carmilla's so strong he knows he can't just fight her. He has to use pack tactics with all his demons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's just like has these volley of demons like chasing her, and most of them are just fodder. Like she's just killing them with like 1 or 2 slices.
Yeah.
But then he has his main like bruisers. The one demon that has wings that's always just grabbing them and like blocking for him and lifting them up into the air and stuff. Like the cooperation in that sense was just awesome.
Yeah, and he's just kind of wearing her down until he can basically take her out.
Yeah.
Which is a good idea, and it worked. So that was badass. Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite just scenes overall because of kind of the dynamics between those characters. Like you said, not arch enemies. They just kind of, this is where they landed, and so this is how it's going to go down.
Along different paths, and there can only be one.
Yeah. And you super want Isaac to win, and you super want her to lose.
Right.
So it's just it's satisfying. But Carmilla, being the bad bitch that she is, realizes she's about to lose. And then she goes on this fucking maniacal speech about like, I'm fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Like, you don't deserve my blood.
Yeah, that was one of the best lines in the whole show. He said, you don't deserve my blood. I was like, oh, shit.
And then she stabs herself, which I guess makes her self-destruct.
She can do whatever she wants. She's a vampire with superpowers. She can
and then I was sad because Isaac's number 1 demon guards him and takes the blast for him. And I'm like, fucking, I know you're an evil night creature, but no, you were so awesome.
We hardly
I
knew
didn't want you. It's like, I didn't want you to die. You were so fucking loyal and legit.
And that's when they cut to Striga and what's her name?
Marana.
Yeah.
Marana.
Yeah.
And they're just like, we're just going to do whatever we want. And then they leave, and that's pretty much the end of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they have beforehand, they have a whole long conversation about also having time, specifically time away for Carmilla while they're waging her war campaign, to think. And they're like, yeah, when we're around her, what she says makes sense. But when we're away from her, it's like, but does it though?
Well, they realize that like their Carmilla's kind of set on world domination, and that means that they're gonna be, running this war campaign forever.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's easy to think like, oh, you got all the time in the world, like you're immortal, like what's the big deal? But it's like, you still got to be there for the whole thing.
Yeah,
you're looking at,
sucks.
you're looking at years, decades, maybe a century or more of just war. Like that's gonna wear you down, and all you want to do is be with your like sister lover. What's going on there?
They're not. So they call themselves sisters, but they're not actually.
They're not
sisters.
actually sisters. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So they're lovers. But yeah, and I mean it's explained in the last conversation with Lenore and Hector, which I was super pleased with how their relationship netted out, because I was super mad at Hector for fucking falling to his simpness super hard and getting played twice. He got played twice.
He got played so hard throughout the entire
He got played
show.
He got played super hard at the end of season 2 by Carmilla, who just treated him like a dog.
Yeah, she
worse than that.
Him. So bad.
And then got fucking simp trapped by Lenore, which I mean I get it, but still, dude, she's a vampire. And so she got tricked. So the fact that when you come to season 4, or sorry, that happened at the end of season 3, but when you get to season 4 and they're kind of like this weird, it's like, are y'all still like, y'all are like cool, yeah, you're still a prisoner in the castle, but y'all just like have casual conversations now, and you have clothes and you're well fed and you're laughing and joking. It's like, what's up with that? That was interesting. And then the fact that she thought he was too timid to ever betray her, and meanwhile the whole time he was kind of using was he talking to Saint Germain? He was talking to Saint Germain and Dragon, I think.
Through the mirror?
Yeah, through the mirror. He was putting the plan together, basically so to make a way for Isaac to infiltrate the castle. There's a lot of details. I'm not gonna get into all of them. But it was cool that he in the end turned the tables, and he wasn't just like, this super simp cuck the whole show, because I was so mad at him for getting played.
Well, and that's Lenore's thing, right? Like, she's a diplomat and she manipulates people. So the fact that he fell for that made sense in season 3. And my line of thinking is that she just was kind of like, I might as well befriend this person if he's going to be my slave and, build an army for me. So
right. But
that's
the reason
probably what she did in season 4.
Right. So the reason I bring that up anyway, that was an aside, but Lenore even said it in her last conversation with Hector that, like, vampires have to think about the long game. Like, you guys, humans, think that we're just violent. We're actually not just violent. What we really want is stability, because we live for fucking ever.
Right.
So we don't want things to change. We kind of want to carve out a piece of land for ourselves and keep that as stable as possible. And that involves a little bit of violence. And I mean, humans are our food, so you're going to get a little bit of that too. So I think that theme was echoed really heavily in that conversation, with the whole idea that Marana and Striga were just like, yeah, man, we don't want to be fighting wars forever, especially against like humans that aren't even warriors, because Striga has her badass battle scene where she puts on her day armor and she has that crazy berserker sword. She's like just murdering fools. But she comes back and she's like, they weren't even soldiers. Like, that was a bunch of like farmers with pitchforks and axes. And like, I could do this, but it's crazy. Like, I'm gonna keep doing this. Like, if this is how desperate these people are for their lives, then it's not going to end. They're not just going to stop once we take over.
Yeah, Lenore had some of the best dialogue to kind of explain the plight of the vampire, so to speak, like from their perspective.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, I thought she would have had more. She seemed really passive by the end of it. It was just like,
she didn't have anything to do.
Yeah, just like, oh, Carmilla's dead. Like, what do I do now? Hector, are you going to kill me? And he's just like, nah, I'm cool. And she's like, well, what? I don't know. And I was like, okay, yeah.
Well, part of that though was that Isaac had her under house arrest.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I know, you're right.
If she tried to do anything, like, she was gonna have to answer to him. So she's like, I'm not gonna live like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and look at this sunset or sunrise that y'all always talk about and just end it.
Oh yeah, no, I completely forgot about all that. No, she went out.
She went out on her own terms.
Yeah, it was good.
And she dissed the sun.
She diss the sun. She was like, that's it. Which is weird though, because she was born human. She wasn't born a vampire, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's like, wouldn't you have seen the sun before? I don't know.
Who knows? One thing I want to complain about, that stupid Rebus was pointless.
Yeah.
Because they were like hyping this Rebus up and they're like, oh, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. And then literally it came to life and got killed.
Well, it's not pointless.
Well, I mean,
in case
you're right. It's not pointless. But the hype for it was like, this thing's going to go nuts and kill everybody and be super powerful and nearly impossible to stop. But it was actually super easy.
It was either have a big fight scene with that or have a big fight scene with death.
And don't get me wrong, I preferred the death fight scene. I just thought it was strange that they hyped that up so bad.
Well, they stopped
only for it to immediately end.
They stopped it from happening. That was the big threat. That was the stakes was
Yeah.
if this happens, that's it. So they stopped it from happening. Well, then they still had to deal with death or death spirit or whatever.
But didn't you watch the epilogue of the whole show?
I did. Yeah.
No,
I'm not saying
I
it
might have
wasn't
missed
important
that.
to the story. I'm not saying it wasn't important to the story, but it was pretty anticlimactic. I'll say
It was anticlimactic, yes. And also the epilogue was not needed either. So
the epilogue.
I'm just giving you shit because I didn't think it was really all that special.
Before we get to the epilogue, do we want to say anything about Saint Germain? I want to say that
Fuck
he was
that
pissing
dude.
me off
Fuck him. I
for
hate
his
him.
flashback when he was like, he was whining like a baby, like, why won't anybody help me?
Yeah,
I was
he's
like,
a bitch,
dude.
dude. I hate him.
Figure it out, man. This is like, you can't just get someone to help you with whatever the hell you're trying to do here. So he was just annoyed me from the beginning. And
Saint
then,
Germain's a child. He's just a child, and I don't like it.
yeah,
I don't.
Yeah.
I know. Like none of you guys like him. Like none of our friends like him. It seems like I didn't mind him so much. I don't like him, but like he doesn't bother me the way he seems to bother everybody else.
Well, in season 3, he bothered me because he was boring. Like his story was so like season 3 was the weakest season in my opinion. Like I cared so little about what was happening that whole season, and like him just investigating the priori. I don't know what that thing is called. Yeah, him investigating that, not really knowing why he was so obsessed with the infinite corridor, then finding out like it's just for some woman.
Mhm.
And it's like, hey
Who
man,
may or may not have been his wife. Unclear.
it's like, hey man, everybody else is worried about like Dracula staying dead or coming back to life. And you're like, I want to open the infinite corridor to see my ladies. Which I get it. I get
You
that.
wouldn't do
Love
that
is
for
a
your
powerful.
love? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I would, but it'd be a really boring story when you guys are like hunting vampires and demons of the night. Like nobody
Well, I mean,
wants
he
to.
can't fight or do anything cool. I mean, I guess he is an alchemist.
He's an alchemist.
but I don't know.
Yeah, he
But this
wasn't a
isn't
fighter.
like Full Metal Alchemist brand alchemist.
Right.
This is
Maybe
like
should have been.
this is like beakers and spells and shit, incantations and whatever else.
I like how they
I
fit
hate
it all together with the infinite corridor, and then, well, then you needed that to bring Trevor back, which was I kind of blew a raspberry at that. It was like, come on, like they brought everybody back. All right, so big spoilers. Vlad and Lisa get and Dracula and his wife get a second chance to live, as a couple in secret. So that's what I guess became of the Rebus. Is that what you guys are talking about?
Yeah, the Rebus. We don't know how, and they at least say we don't know how either.
Yeah.
Because Lisa was saying like I'm mad because like I don't understand why we're back. So I was glad that they referenced that, but it's like, all right, you're gonna do a show. Are you gonna do a show where it's following them now, being normal people? It's like two things. A, I don't want a show about them being normal people. B, I don't want a show about them being in trouble because I want them to have peace. What I want is for them to have peace and go away.
Yeah.
And live happily ever after. And I can watch some other people fight and suffer.
Yeah. I liked having their final conversation. So it was like you get Alucard's last kind of rant or development talking to, I don't even know the lady's name, but the town
Lisa?
The town
leader.
lady.
Yeah, the town leader. Is her name
Oh.
like Sarah or something? Let's just call her Sarah. So him and Sarah have some like playful but kind of like dumb banter at the end. They do this whole like over drawn thing where he says it was her idea, or he says it was his idea and she says it was hers, and I only made you think it was my idea, and like they totally drive that into the ground, which is totally unnecessary. and I'm sitting here watching it like some of this dialogue is pretty bad. Like they tried.
It's corny dialogue, but it's well acted.
Well, yeah, I guess so. It's well acted, but like Hector and Alucard were just a little too dry for me. It was like they were almost a little too flat. Like they didn't show enough emotion. Like I know they're both kind of like, edgelord, stoics, but I wanted a little more like range of emotions from them. But
everybody's kind of flat, really, except for Barney
but those
and
are
Saint Germain.
Yeah, but they're the worst in my mind. But anyway, so you go from this kind of like shitty conversation with Alucard, or it's just weak. I'll call it weak. And then you go to Lisa and Vlad and their final moments, or the final moments of the series, and they're together again. And it seems like the dialogue is a whole lot better. So it was just weird that like we couldn't get that kind of consistency, or get that consistently throughout the whole thing. But I don't know. It's like they tried to have like these lighthearted interactions between characters, and I feel like a lot of those kind of fell flat. The one you mentioned earlier was really good, but those are the exception. Oh, the dick jokes between Hector and Lenore, like that was fun, but it seemed like most of the attempts at stuff like that were fell a little flat.
Yeah, and I think I forgot what I was going to say, so just pretend.
Good
I didn't
job.
say that.
So yeah, you brought up the rebus. Was there anything that you wanted to say specifically about that, or are we talking about it?
No, I think I said what I needed to say about
about the rebus. They showed the ring, Hector, the finger that he cut off that had the control ring on it. That got put.
I lost track of whose ring's on whose hand.
Well, that ring got put on the rebus. So I was like, they're gonna rebuild the thing, and it's gonna have control of the night creatures. And then they didn't make a thing out of it. It was nothing.
Yeah,
it was a plan that was foiled, so that Trevor could fight Death. That's all.
Which was a better fight, I think. In some ways.
Yeah.
I mean, Death looked sweet. That's the only reason I love that
Death looked
fight.
sweet.
Yeah.
Varney's voice on Death was kind of like, this is silly, but also like it kind of worked.
I loved it. I loved that Death wasn't this super proper like villain from hell, like thou shalt bow before. I loved how he was a smart ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
like he's just like, vampires are my or death is my meat. And I need to eat.
He did say that. He was just like this hungry dude.
Yeah, he was just like an asshole. I kind of liked it. It fit the tone of the show for me.
It did. It fits the show, but like it kind of takes me out of it a little bit when you've got like this huge like, monumental villain, and he's just like, I'm going to make you eat shit. I'm just oh, okay, cool. Like I feel like it's a little more serious than that. I don't know. You're not really doing the situation justice with that. And even watching,
considering he was like the final boss, so to speak.
Yeah,
it's a little weird that he's such a goof.
Watching
season 1 again, there's the part where the night creatures come into the cathedral and kill the bishop. He's like, "Oh, I do God's work," and the demon's like, "Your work makes God puke." Just like, what? Like, who wrote that?
That's hilarious.
God, like, yeah. I don't know. It's just this weird brand of humor that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't.
I don't know, man. I love it.
I like it too. Like, as like knowing the show now, like I like it. I wouldn't change it necessarily, but it's just a little bit of a shock at first, or an adjustment. Actually, having watched season 1 again, I feel like it's better now that you kind of know what the vibe of the show is. Because I remember watching it, I was just like, this is wild. Like the style is distinct, but it's not really what I'm used to. And it's really violent, but it's also like kind of crass and like I don't know how to feel. Of course you love it while you're watching it, but anyway, it's I think it's good to go back and rewatch now that we're at the end of it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, I think overall, I'd have to rewatch season 2 and season 3, and I think Marcus, you said it. Season 3 is definitely the weakest, because it just doesn't push a whole lot forward story wise, and I kind of wish there was more from Belmont. Like you said, like Belmont kind of peaks in season 1, and that's pretty much where he stays for the rest of the series. So it would have been nice to see a little more Belmont action, but I mean, it kind of it wraps itself up altogether, but it definitely leaves it open for a potential sequel. I think you could maybe have a sequel with Dracula if, you know, Alucard and or I don't know, whatever is the Belmont kid, whoever that is in the canon, takes over and some major threat comes back and then they have to pull Dracula out of hiding to fight it. Maybe you could play something like that, but probably unnecessary. I think you can tell other stories that are just as interesting without having to go back and basically reopen all the closed doors on this series. But overall, fun series, fun to watch. It's not the most coherent thing, but I think the dialogue is good. The writing is iffy, but even the flatter characters, I think they still fit with the voices to the characters themselves. It's not so bad.
Yeah, you just have to get through the first season where they all talk like this.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all just too bored to speak properly.
But they're dead vampires. They can't speak.
The bishop was the worst, and he's a fucking human.
Oh, that's true.
Practicing witchcraft. It's like mumbler.
I forgot
it's
about
like,
how
hey
bad.
man,
I gotta watch it again.
Use your lungs, please.
No, he was
Like they were all like too bothered to speak. That's what it seemed like. That was their direction.
Yeah, I remember
that was their direction.
Such a hard time hearing him. It's like, why is it so hard to hear him? Why is he speaking so quiet?
Yeah, they were in the booth and the director was like, I can't even. That's basically that's your directions. I can't even. That is how you feel.
I don't want to hear you delivering these lines. I want you to be that close to the microphone so that it gets recorded, but I can't hear it out here. Yeah. Anyway, what else?
I'd recommend it. I freaking love it. They said the plan was to make another show that takes place in the Castlevania universe, but is in a spinoff. So I'm assuming that they're going to base it on another Belmont, maybe. Or like maybe Alucard in the future, since like he goes to sleep and wakes up periodically.
Yeah, what does that mean in the same universe but not a spinoff?
Not a spinoff means it's not going to have any characters from this show, which probably means no Alucard then. Because that's typically what a spinoff is.
Right.
Like think of like Frasier from Cheers.
Yeah.
Frasier Crane was a character on Cheers, then they made his own show. So it's not going to be like The Adventures of Isaac making his new kingdom.
The Adventures of Varney.
Varney's dead.
If they make a show called Varney of London, oh my god.
And
a miniseries.
That's a pun.
What?
Varney's dead. That's a pun. Get it? Because Varney's death. Varney's
right
dead.
on.
Guys, spoilers. Varney is Death, the Grim Reaper.
The Grim fucking Reaper.
If Death is dead, does that mean nobody can die?
I'm going to stick my skeleton dick in your ear. He didn't say that, but like...
we call that a boner.
That's what we call a boner.
You've never had a proper boner before.
I'll show you a right proper bone.
You haven't fucked until you fucked death.
God. Oh man.
All right, I'm done.
Okay. Are we wrapping it up here? Did we say all we?
I think it's a good time to wrap it up after all that.
Did we say all we needed to say? I think we did.
There's so
Said
much
more
more
than
to
enough.
say, but not enough
Yeah.
time because we are not vampires.
No, we got to go to bed.
I think we touched on all the major characters and plot points. So
Okay, real quick question for you guys. Before the awesome, they did a lot of like 360 like rotating camera stuff, like a la Demon Slayer and a la, high budget anime stuff. Most of it looked pretty good. The part where Isaac was fighting vampires
Carmilla?
on the way. No, they did it for the Carmilla fight, and it looked really good. But shortly before that, they did it with Isaac fighting vampires as he infiltrates the castle. I think it was in like a courtyard or something. And to me, it just looked really bad. Like the background, so like the background is rotating 3D, computer animated, but it just looked really like flat and like washed out and like lazy kind of. Did anyone else feel that way? Like, because it stuck out to me. I was just like, ugh. Like all of a sudden, I was like, that looks bad. But
I don't remember, but I believe you.
yeah, it's like they erased it quickly after that. Like, okay, yeah, forget about that. Here's a better version. But they did use that technique a lot with the moving camera. And
they did.
Dramatic action.
The times I paid close attention, I thought it was pretty well done.
It was most of the time, but there was that one time stood out to me where I was just like, nope. The jank lives.
But compared to Blood of Zeus, Blood of Zeus,
There's no comparison.
there's no comparison.
Oh yeah, no, don't.
That show looked shitty the whole time. Well, correction. The animation looked shitty the whole time.
No,
Right.
not well.
The
animated.
art style was just as beautiful as Castlevania,
Yeah.
if not more beautiful sometimes,
Yeah.
just because of the setting.
Yeah. They still, it does bother me, like, when the characters are just walking, like, it looks weird to me.
Yeah, I noticed
Yeah,
that. I do remember.
that's another
that. There was
gripe.
like one, they were walking through the woods and they're all just kind of like bobbing up
Yeah,
and
or like
down,
when
but
they're running, there's
no shoulder movement.
Yeah, the couple times they were like running at each other and it just looked weird when the way they were running.
Because they don't want to actually animate how the whole body moves, because you actually use your whole body when you run. But they're just like arms and legs.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Anyway,
Nah, man.
tacking on some little jabs at the end.
Jab. This show sucks.
Watch it. It's worth
No,
it. Keep supporting.
It's a great show.
Keep supporting this
We
stuff.
need more
so
things
that-
like this in our lives, in the universe.
Keep supporting it so that America continues to partner with Netflix and the other streamers to make more adult content that's not just comedy, but fantasy. I want to see spaceships. I want to see swords. I want to see laser guns. I want to see steampunk gadgets. I want to see
That was last week.
all the
We
stuff.
did Yasuke last week.
Yasuke didn't have any steampunk.
No, they didn't have any spaceships either, but they did have robots. Anyway,
They need robots in Castlevania.
it's coming.
No, they don't.
It's already. They had like automatons and stuff in Dracula's castle. I think it wasn't
I don't
all
think so.
creatures. They had clockwork things. Maybe, I don't know. Don't ask me.
Who cares?
Shut up.
Maybe in the game, not in the show.
Yeah, that's what I mean in the game.
Oh, well, you didn't say that.
I didn't say that, and I'm not gonna say that. You should know
You already did.
from talking to me, from looking at my face.
AJ, where can these people find anime cheaply?
I don't know. Fucking on the internet.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you can go to brokotaku.com.
That's
and search
7
for the anime
R's.
that you want to buy.
BRRR.
Speak up, AJ.
Or you can go to Twitter. I'm going to talk like Alucard. You can go to Twitter and find me at Brokotaku, where I will share all of my favorite anime deals. And you will click on them and purchase them. And I may get a small compensation in the form of a penny. Oh God. I'm becoming Belmont.
I'm fucking becoming fucking Belmont. Fuck.
Fuck. I don't have any Twitter followers. Still.
I don't know what to tweet. I'm just going to lay here and drink wine. Oh, by the way, every episode someone was taking a leak in some capacity.
I appreciate that. You know why? Because people
Why?
piss all the time.
Okay, fair enough.
Piss multiple times a day. Every single
I
day.
need to drink more water.
I don't never not piss.
I don't never not piss.
It's true. You can't deny it. All right.
I guess that's not true.
Catch us on
That's
YouTube and iTunes and iTunes
all these podcast
and
things.
the Uphone and the Me tab and
Tune your mirrors to the Broke Otaku channel and talk to us through the mirrors. Suck my blood.
At the Broke Otaku and at Broke Otaku
is
Cast.
it the Broke Otaku or just Broke Otaku?
No, it's just Broke Otaku.
At Broke Otaku, at Broke Otaku Cast, at your face on the regular.
And that's it. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time when we don't know what we're talking about yet.
Those are the best episodes when we don't know. Don't miss it.
We'll know.
Be here
We'll-
or be square.
We'll know before we do.
All right. Nighty night now. Mwah, mwah. Love you. Bye.
Peace.
Goodbye, Belmont.
Oh, yeah.
Well.